This morning is determined to kill me. Once again, it is other drivers on the road. Firstly, I have decided to start taking the back streets before I get onto the main road. I pulled onto the road at the bottom of my street, and another driver decided that he didn't really like the idea of corners. So I ended up stopping my car and letting him go, and I thought, the least he could do is thank me, because I didn't allow him to crash straight into my vehicle. But no. Then I pulled out of that street, and on the next one there's a bend. Now, someone does park their car, so you have to pass it. However, I still think there's ample time to get onto your side of the road before you decide... Sorry, I thought someone was watching me. Before you decide to turn the bend, because he nearly drove into me. He was on my side of the road in his flaming Citroen Zara Picasso. Anyway, eventually get onto the main road, come down the dual carriageway after nearly getting stuck behind a lorry, really. I managed to overtake that, and then something decided to overtake me on the dual carriageway and did that thing that I hate, because they overtook me and then decided to go slower than I was going, and I just don't understand it. Why decide you're going to overtake someone and then drop your speed right down? Because then I feel like I can't overtake them, because that'll look like I'm racing them. Then, another driver, white Mercedes, and she had a cage in her front seat. And we were approaching these traffic lights, and she was leaning over at the cage, driving really slowly, so that it changed to red. But as soon as she saw it changing to red, she put her foot down and floored it, got straight through, and I was left behind. I was like, I didn't want to beep because I didn't know what was in the cage. And I've been thinking about what could have been in the cage, dragons, children, a cat. But I don't know. But whatever it was, she cared more about that, which is fine, Do care about your pets, your animals, whoever you may have kidnapped, fine. But then she, in turn, got stuck behind another slow driver who seemed to think that driving 20 miles below the speed limit was good. Now, I admit, it's been raining. They may not have good traction on their cars. I don't know. However, I did not care for where they'd slow down, because sometimes they'd pick their speed up and you think, oh, maybe they just don't know the road, they're not used to bends, and then, yeah, it made no sense. Eventually, I finally got into Poynton and turned down the road for work, and the bin lorry that usually comes into the car park decided not to park in the car park, but fill the entire side street that I have to come down to get to the car park. So I ended up reversing onto the pavement and putting my hazard lights on, because I thought, well, I could go to Waitrose now and I could buy the shops shopping, but instead I want to go and make a video about all the time I have lost because I have been stuck behind certain drivers nearly getting murdered. So, yeah, last week I said about it not being my week, as only mentioned yesterday, uploaded yesterday. We're still not properly feeling ourselves again, and then this happens, and I'm just thinking, well, that sets up the week nicely. That does. My nephew is currently down from Northumberland, so I probably won't be recording many videos this week apart from portions for the vlog. So that's fun. It has been somewhat easier to get to work this morning, because if they share it on the news nationally, I don't know whether they did, the town in which I work flooded on Wednesday, and thus I wasn't sure whether my shop was flooded, whether any of my volunteers or the other staff were affected. But apparently they were all okay, except the fact that my manager has become somewhat marooned, and thus yesterday came into work with hunter boots and skis so she could aquaplane in. And apparently, that's dedication to the charity, really. I saw that there were a few roads closed, and I don't know road names. That's, I go down one road whenever I come to work, and that's it. I go down that road, I go home, I'm done. I didn't get this car for the fun of frolicking all over the country. I've now been driving for nearly 2 years, and have you seen me decide to skedaddle all the way to Skegness? No, you have not. I think people had noticed road closures and that sort of thing, and thus they weren't on the roads this morning, or if they were, they'd taken alternative routes. I've yet to see the people from upstairs, so they could arrive any minute now, because naturally I left early thinking the roads were going to be absolutely chock-a-block with folk all trying to get to work in a rush, and they're not here. I'm in an empty car park once again. They will arrive soon, and then they'll all have Costa Coffee or Starbucks, and I'll be here wondering why I don't have Costa Coffee or Starbucks. But then, you know, there's loads of political and social issues surrounding the purchasing of coffee in such a fashion, and seriously. This week has been spent looking after my nephew. My brother has a lot of work on at the moment, and thus so my nephew has been sent to stay with us all week. And, well, he's staying with his mum's grandparents at night, coming to us during the day, which naturally means me. And so there's been a lot of watching of Paw Patrol, playing on Sonic on his Kindle, and I must say that when my nephew told me that this wasn't like the olden days, I was a bit saddened, because, not gonna lie, I don't like to think of my youth as the olden days, since it was only 20 years ago. I'm only 22 years older than my nephew. Is it too much to ask that he recognised that that's not too long in the grand scheme of things? Either way, we've made biscuits, we've made soup, we've hung around watching telly, and I would be a terrible parent, because if I can get time to read a book by throwing a video game at a child, then that's what I'm doing, because that's what I did on Wednesday. You know, the Book Junkie Trials was ending on Wednesday night. I wanted to get through the few books I'd got left to read. I think I had 2 left on Wednesday. Now, I've told a complete and utter lie there. I had 1 left to read on Wednesday, which was The Rabbi's Cat 2 by Joann Sfar, and utterly brilliant, really stands up to the original. There are some issues that I had with it, but ultimately the discussion that was started in the previous book continued in this one, and I was appreciative of that fact. Whilst my nephew was playing on this video game, I took the time to read Fortunately the Milk by Neil Gaiman. I was hoping to be able to read it to my nephew, but he had no interest in it, and so me being me was like, well, I'm going to read it anyway. So he didn't care. He was playing Farming Simulator. He had absolutely no idea I was even in the room at that point. Well, also, you know, that was the same day that Poynton flooded, and I went to my grandmother's. We watched some MASH. We took her a Chinese, and it might just be the worst Chinese takeaway food I have ever consumed. Naturally, I'm still vegetarian. I'm not trying to eat loads of terrible stuff, so I went with tofu and vegetable rice, and they said vegetable fried rice, but this had definitely been boiled, which was fine. You know, we all like a bit of boiled rice and flavourless vegetables all mashed together. It was not nice. This week has also been strange because I'm very aware now that we're 1 month away from the publication of Doris Ahoy, and I still haven't got that book completely edited. I don't know. I don't need to talk about that. But basically, I have this urge to write again. But I was reading something either this week or last week, and I was looking back at last year and my writing vlog and how much I managed to do in August, and I feel as though I want to be writing, but whilst I know it should be the next Doris book, there are so many ideas floating in my head, and I keep thinking that, do I want to get into this state of constantly writing? Because I know that I could do it. but I don't know whether that would lend itself to bad writing. And I know that I also want to move away from the Doris in these cozy comedy type stories and maybe write something fantastical again. I know I'm working on the children's book as well, and that's got the fantasy elements, and I like to go there for some escapism. I just feel as though I could blend this comedy aspect into the fantasy in some way, but I don't have a story there yet. I just have a want to do that. What are you reading? What are you writing? What you're watching? What you're listening to? Please do let me know in the comments, because, you know, every week I'm looking for a TV show. I don't know when the first season of Stranger Things went out, but I think I'm finally on episode 5. I watch about an episode a year, maybe. 2 episodes a year? No. Either way, I finally reached episode 5 of Stranger Things. That's the measure of how much television I watch. Although I did watch Fleabag earlier this year, and I did watch 2 episodes of Killing Eve. That's like the most television, you know, it's all RuPaul's Drag Race's fault. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.